This is so exciting. Joe King, Dave Welsh, Ben Wasaki. Did I say that right?
Wysocki.
Wysocki.
Yeah, close enough, yeah.
The Fray is here. So exciting.
Oh, thanks for having us.
I'm Zach in that stand, by the way. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
Well, it's really cool to talk to a band. This is a big deal for me because I've been listening to your music for a very long time. And it's been... Is it weird to realize that you've been doing this for so long and we're about to celebrate a 25th anniversary, which is a big deal. But is it weird to think that you're still actively doing this and making music and still going into interviews like it was, 25 years ago?
Well, this is all, it's a whole new world that we woke up into. It's like we went away for, 8-9 years, and this is our first podcast we've ever done.
Wow, it's an honor.
So,
yeah.
it's
What?
We're waking up into a new time, new era. How music is made, is different from when we, recorded our first 4 albums. How it's promoted. Tours are the same. That's the common thread. Like, shows are the same, but everything, how you get your music out, how you the timing in which you put it out, like, it's all different. So it's like we're at a starting point again. In our lives as creatives, as a band. It's like the wheel where you find yourself at the starting point again, and it is true. Like we're having conversations that reminds me of the same conversations we had 18 years ago. Which is like, okay, do we have a T-shirt to sell tonight? Like, what songs are we gonna play? So it's just it's a new start for us again, and that there's a a mixture of absolute scared shitless and feeling completely alive, with what is happening.
Does any of that influence the actual music that is made? Because from my ears, it doesn't sound like it, because it does sound genuinely like the Fray Is Back, but almost like first era of the Fray.
Yeah, we've heard that before, which is funny. It's like that certainly wasn't intentional. It wasn't like, okay, let's start again with like an older sound. I think it came from some subconscious level. Like when we got back into make new music again after about 8 years, it felt pretty natural, right? There was no intentional like, let's make a record that sounds like something, or let's do this differently. We just kind of started doing. And I think what was familiar to us, or what we did best, our wheelhouse kind of just came out naturally,
Like, what has changed in the creative process, just for example, between How to Save a Life and The Fray Is Back? Or is the creative
Everything?
process...
I think you have to evolve, as artists. I think you have to put yourself in uncomfortable positions, and... That is true for us in the past couple of years. Finding a new chemistry, for instance, is again scary, that word. But evolving is crucial. Change is crucial for creatives, because you can't stay in the same place. You can't capture the same things. What is true? What's the same is that we write true songs. And that's a common thread throughout the history of this band, is just capturing what's present, in life. What's alive, what's in front of you, what are we noticing? For instance, the first song on the EP's a song called Angelina Moon. I used to live in this town. I was walking around an old neighborhood. And there's so many messages for us every day. There's if we pay attention, and most of the time, 95% of the time, I miss them. But the few chances where I'm aware, if I'm aware, there's things there for us all the time. And this day specifically, I was just walking around an old neighborhood, and I'm sure you've seen it just being in LA, but people paint things on the sidewalks. And I was walking and I saw New Beginnings, painted. And it struck me because it was true for so much of my life, for where we are. And it just inspired a lyric right away. And it was just a literal, like, okay, I need to write this now. I need to write this. And so went in that day, and the first lyric is what the song is. Somebody painted new beginnings on the sidewalk, and it was just a reflection of, okay, what's alive, what's here, what is happening. And so just writing truth is the same from the beginning to where we're at now.
But you needed to write music even when you weren't in the mode to release anything.
I think it saves us as artists. If we don't, we're dying or destroying, things in ourselves. So music for us as artists is what saves us, and then in turn, the honor that we have and the overwhelming, experience in hearing our fans' stories attached to our music. I mean, last night we played, and there was, a girl, 5 rows back, whatever, and she had the sign, "Your music saved my life." And that is, there's no charge for that. In the music industry, there's no, somebody's story, what music has been for someone is such an honor to be in that place, and something you can't ever plan for or like manipulate. It's just like, it just happens. They take on lives of their own, these songs. So yeah, it's music for us, and even us as a band, like new music is what bonded us together again. And then playing shows like reflected, okay, who we are, our fans like are a mirror, in essence.
Totally.
Like we're changed by the eyes of our audience, because they see us more clearly than we see ourselves.
And the music thing is what bonds you together. It's like very much you feel understood by one another.
Yeah.
So how'd you know it was time to actually release again, right? Because again, you've been writing, you'll write just for yourself. It doesn't matter. But how'd you know it was time to share?
I think it just kind of felt like a natural next step. We talked amongst the three of us a bunch about what could happen, what we wanted to have, what we wanted it to look like. And we kind of talked ourselves silly, like over theorized. And it got to a point where we were just kind of all in our heads about it. And we were like, maybe the next natural thing to do would just be to just start doing, just take a step in some direction and see where it goes. So, that direction, or at least that first step, it seemed most obvious to like, let's make new music and see where that goes, and let's take that step and let's go out and play some shows, see where that goes. It's just kind of like we had sat still chatting about it long enough. We just had to get out and start doing.
But what's the motivating factor behind it? Because I don't want to assume, but you guys have had like 13 million monthly listeners on Spotify for a while. You have some of the biggest sync records of all time. You have unofficial theme songs of shows. You release music at a time where syncs and radio were everything. I mean, I grew up hearing quite possibly 3 Fray songs an hour on 95.5 PLJ.
Sorry about that.
24 hours a day.
Yeah.
PLJ.
Of course PLJ because they pay your bills. They did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to assume, but you don't really need to fucking do this.
Well, we kind of do though.
In your soul, you do, but financially, do you?
That's like, I remember, I think it was like one of the Beatles documentaries, like, speaking of financial, that's a fine motivation.
Totally.
They were talking about that. They were like, we need money, so we're going to go to Germany and play, a residency.
Some covers.
And it developed their craft, and their live act, and then influenced their songs. So if that's a motive, sure, it could lead you to, what your purpose is as an artist. So I don't really judge the motives, because hopefully it just leads you to, finding something, bigger than you are. And, for us, I think, a combination of factors. There was more to say. First off, I think we realized there's more to say here. There's also so much we haven't done as a band. We haven't played Mexico, we haven't played South America, we haven't played many parts of the world, and we have and we're overwhelmed with fans even on social media of like every post, come to Brazil, come to Mexico, come to Brazil, and we haven't done this yet. And so there's so much we haven't done, even though we've been here. We've been, lucky to experience all that we have. I mean, we have stories we'll tell our grandchildren from this first season of this band, and now the unknown is ahead of us, which is really fucking exciting.
It's crazy,
and it feels, like I said, alive, and we're like putting the sails up, and we have no idea where we're going with this.
The music's fantastic.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
great.
you.
I was so nervous to listen. Like, you never know. Like, you don't.
Yeah.
So were we.
Right? It's like, dude, it's either going to be a hit or a fucking miss. And you're sitting on a mountain of iconic records that, again, have shaped the existence of so many people's lives and have shaped the trajectory of culture in ways that are like, dude, people don't remember the mid-2000s. Like, that was an incredible time for music. And, like, God, it was so great. I got exactly what I needed out of it and more.
Wow, that's cool.
But I think a lot of it is because today in music, the sound of nostalgic yet present is so in. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I want something that sounds like before but is telling me a story that matters today.
Well, and one thing as a band, like, we had to really commit to in this process is we all have to love it in order for it to be done and ready, and you don't reach that point at the same time. And when one of us, there's something not quite there, or there's something holding us up, like, it's still yet to be realized. And with these songs, the EP, they were just songs that raised their hand pretty early in the process, and became cohesive quickly. And then we got to the point where, like, okay, do we all love this? And that's it. Now that's kind of how I think about even success for us, is just purely putting out music that you love, and no attachments.
Was that never not?
No, because I got so caught up in the 90% that consumes, a lot of artists, which is all the pressures, all the things you think you have to do, all the the yeses or the fears of the no's that that you're going to say, and all the things that really aren't up to you too, as far as getting your music out there, and all the stuff that there's so many variables, there's so many factors out of our control, and I used to put a lot of energy into that, and it's incredibly freeing to just, okay, what we do control is the music that we want to put out and that we love, and that's kind of it. We didn't have any idea we're going to be doing this podcast with you, a few weeks ago, a month ago, the beginning of this year. We didn't even know, when an EP would come out, if we were going to have an EP. And in a matter of 6 months, life changes. In a matter of a month, life changes. In a day, So it's just like so much out of your control. So for us, put music out that we love, and the rest is not up to us.
How many songs did you write to get the 6 that are on this EP?
Well, we have a bunch. There's just times in life where I think songs flow. I don't know what it is, but we're in that season as artists and as a band where there's a lot for us to work on and to record. We're going in November, right after this tour.
Yeah, we had like a huge batch of songs, and these 6 we kind of had to stop recording in order to release some, right? Because it was like we knew we wanted to get music out, but we had so many songs to work on, so many ideas to explore, so many that we still haven't. But we kind of had to make it. I remember like one conference call, we were like, okay, we need to stop exploring other songs because we have to put these out. We have to like finish these. So these 6 were just kind of like the first like expression, first step. It doesn't even though the EP's done and it's out, it kind of just feels like we had to get them out in order to keep moving. Yeah, we had to get those out of the way so that we can keep going. So we have like even now we're sitting on a bunch of ideas. Like Joe said, we're going to go back in next month and just keep exploring, who knows.
You mentioned getting caught up in like this idea of being able to control things, but like things that are out of your control, right? Mm-hmm. Do you get that way because of success, right? But when you analyze the success, a lot of it was out of your control, all the way down to, cable car. Like, that was just a random radio station in Denver that got their hands on a demo, right?
Yeah. I mean, it probably is part of the myth of success, I think. You start to believe you had more to do with it than you really did. And you're right. When you go back and look at it and analyze it and probably do it chronologically, you're like, wait, all we had control over in the beginning was this. Mm-hmm. And then a whole bunch of steps happened, and here we are. But I think somewhere along the way it distorts a bit, and you're like, well, we've got...
Look what we did.
Look at what we did. Well, yeah, I mean, you do kind of believe your own hype a little bit. And then I think fortunately enough, we're just old enough now and have been doing this just long enough. So now we've gone back again, and we're like, hold on, wait a minute. We don't need to believe this shit anymore. Like, just control what you can control and release the rest.
And maybe it's control in the sense of, what your attachments are to outcome. That's something I'm learning at this point in my life. I had a lot of attachments to outcome, for the first 12 years or whatever it was of this band, where you measure it, or you expect, or you want it to be this thing, or you want it to be on this chart, or you want it to perform yada yada. And I think we are, through this process of even finding us again as a band, I've had to just check myself with attachments. At the beginning of this process, for instance, I saw that I was kind of attached to an idea, which was, we're going to bring when we were talking about the Fray and moving forward, let's bring in our Sammy Hagar. Let's bring in another person, and that was an attachment I had, and we were actively pursuing that and talking to other artists,
replacing Issac in a sense. Right?
Yep. And then what's beautiful about a band is there's a tension and a push and pull. We got a show offer to play a show. We hadn't played in a long time. We hadn't said anything. And Ben and Dave were like, we should do the show. Like, let's do the show. I was opposed. I didn't want to do it because my attachment was somebody else is going to come in. And
by the way, attachment and safety net, right? Like this idea that like somebody was just going to come and carry the mantle that was left in the center of the stage. And it was safer that way.
Safer, for sure. And, and then they're like, we should just do it. We should play the show just to say we played a show, to take just what a band does, and, and then I was like, okay, reluctantly, like, okay, let's try. It wasn't like a audition or like, let's see if this works. It's just the three.
How you going into it?
You got to jump in, you can't map it out. And we jumped in, and, like I said in the beginning, like the fans removed all fear, worry, concern, everything I was worried about. Like, they weren't thinking that. They weren't worried about. I was, I couldn't look up for the first two songs. Like, I was afraid of people walking out and confused because we didn't say anything yet about who we were, and we didn't even know what we were. And then I look up, and they were right there. And then a fan yelled out, "The Fray is back!" And it just like struck me in my core. And that's why I say like the audience could see us more clearly than we could see ourselves, and it was a powerful moment.
It's so cheesy to say that music is powerful, but I think that this process of us starting again has been such a learning experience. With like that show and like those experiences underlined this truth that like the music that we've made is so much bigger than us as individuals. And when we got off our butts and started playing the music for people again, we were able to experience that and see like if we got in the way and inserted ourselves into the process, right, it would fall so flat. But I think we feel like this deep sense of gratitude for that music that was created. We happen to be the ones that to create it, but now it's like we're able to see all of these people, all the fans have their own story with it, right? And they're almost bringing that to us, and we're able to experience it with them. And that's kind of the foundation that we're building on now. It's like not us, but this music that's, you know, that exists and that we're able to sort of build off of now. It's incredible.
But it is a new ownership of the records now that you're singing them, correct?
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
well,
for sure.
I think that's what I'm experiencing, that songs take on new meanings at different points in your life. And, you know, our songs, lyrics have taken on new meanings. You know, when originally wrote them, you know, I know what obviously they came from, or what they were based around, some of them. And then now singing these songs, the lyrics mean something new, you know, to me, to maybe even to the audience. You know, that's the beauty of music. It can bring you back to a moment in life and give you this incredible hug, you know, where you're at. And then it brings you to a new, where you're at in life now, and it meets you there. And it affects you in a new way, in a different way, and that's what we're experiencing in performing these songs, is that they take on new meanings.
I've started to think of it as like we're covering Fray songs, which is like, it's so much easier to think of it that way than like, you know, sometimes when you like get up in the morning, you want to like avoid the mirror at first because you're like, oh, I don't want to see that. That's kind of what it feels like when you think of your songs as like your songs. But if you think of it as like a cover, like we're covering this song that came out on the Fray's first record in 2005, then you can like shift. It's like, oh, cool. How would I play that? Because I'm not going to play it the way I did 20 years ago. You know, it's like impossible to do that. So let's cover it. Let's do it. Let's do our own thing. You know,
It's funny. We had you know, a few friends come out to these shows, and you know, our front of house engineer who mixes, you know, our sound. You know, he's like, there are quite a few songs that you can't even hear us. The audience is louder than the PA can go, and that's a trip. You know, because my friends are like, we could hear the audience singing, we couldn't even hear the band.
Yeah,
that's a metaphor.
We had a show in my hometown in Columbus, Ohio, just a couple days ago, and I went home the next day, and I saw my neighbor who came, and he's like, "Well, I didn't know I was coming to a sing-along last night."
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's like, what a testament to the art that you've created and the stories you've told.
It's amazing.
It's wild, man.
What did you like? Did you know what Grey's Anatomy was before you got a phone call that? I mean,
I
there's
thought it was like ER. I was like, that's the show's kind of like ER, right? The George Clooney show.
Yeah, it was just an email. You know, like, hey, you know?
It's so weird to think that like email was around
Exactly.
so long ago.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It was a
Like, here's a-
telegram.
Sent a backup fax.
Yeah, it was an email, and yeah, I didn't know the show at that point. It was, you know, and there was also a time where, I remember, it was a big discussion because, you know, artists weren't really licensing songs. You know, it was like considered maybe like a sellout thing, or like we were just worried about everything at that point. But like, I think what the saving grace of that exposure was that it wasn't our first song out.
Totally.
You know, and I think it would have been a very different story for this band had that been our first song. And you know, we're just fortunate. The universe was like, okay, no, that's supposed to come second. You know,
came in at a beautiful time to continue this growth at a moment where like must-see TV in this nation was, I mean, we're talking about double digits, tens of millions of people glued.
It was like kind of felt like afterburners. Like we had already kind of, like the rocket had already left the launch pad and we were like flying. We were like, whoa, this is crazy. And then the Grays thing, without any, you know, none of us had any idea, felt like a whoop, like the afterburners kicked on. We were like, what? You know?
Yeah, and it's like, you gotta get your music heard, you know, like just get people to, like, okay, like.
And there was many things that would change your life.
Don't hold it tightly. Like, get your music out there, you know, like whatever, you know, if people are hearing it, that's the point, you know.
It is true though that it was pretty early for the whole idea of music in shows, TV shows, and on TV in general. And it didn't feel. I remember feeling like we were kind of like, oh, not like we were opposed to it, but it was just such a new concept that felt like that wasn't. Now it's like a known thing. Now it's a goal. Back then it was like, I'm not really sure what.
Yeah.
What this will feel like.
When you grow up idolizing, Eddie Vedder in the 90s and stuff, you're kind of like, when somebody says, hey, we want to put your song on a TV show, you're like, I want to smash this bottle of wine and say, no way. Not
like
not letting the man get us
iPod
down.
commercials were like, that was like, it was cool to get your song in an iPod commercial. And that was about it, right? But yeah, it just opened. It was like such early days for that.
You guys had one of the most historic digital releases of all time.
It ended up being really cool because now in hindsight, what was awesome about it was the narrative piece, like the narrative nature of the songs, and somebody who cared enough to pair that with a narrative of a show, a character, whatever. It's like, it can be really powerful when it's done right. And I don't think we had any idea of how that would happen, but it's cool.
Do we miss iTunes?
Yes.
We've had such a we've had. They launched, iTunes when it was just the timing in life, right? Like our music, our first album, iTunes launched. Everything was happening at the same time, and. I remember having the first generation iPod with the little wheel that you could turn, and you could put 200 songs on there. You're like, oh my God, I got 200 songs on this thing, and
10 CDs.
Yeah.
The cool thing about that was that it was like only 200 songs.
Right.
Streaming's amazing, and nothing against all of those platforms, but it's like when you had your iPod, it was like similar to your book of CDs, and that's all you had, right? So your choices were just those, which felt a little different,
Yeah, there was still an ownership there. So even if you bought a digital album, you would hunt for something that you loved on that album.
Oh yeah, make your money worth.
You would be like, okay, I'm gonna find something I like about this record, and you'd find it, and then you'd be like, okay, track 7, that's my song,
It was also fun to look at other people's iPods. And other people's like iTunes, oh, what do you have in your what's your library like? It's cool.
Because it's true, like you have access to everything now, and everything is overwhelming. And like, as much of a blessing as everything is, it's like, how do you really focus your time, attention, and care to anything?
That's so hard. There's so much.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, how many songs are uploaded to, the DSPs now every day? And now it's just like, it's like the bathroom wall at a club,
it's really
it's
hard.
graffiti. It's so much on the walls. You can't absorb it all, So, getting your music heard nowadays is the biggest challenge, and there's just no guarantee with anything. So, like I said, we're fortunate to be just putting music out. Whoever gets to hear it.
Before that show offer that you guys were just talking about, did you three know you wanted to keep the Fray going, or was there a thought like, if Isaac leaves, then maybe we'll just try something else with our lives?
We had actually Joe lives in Nashville, and we had gone. 2 of us had flown down there, and had kind of like a pivotal conversation, like at a coffee shop in the morning or something, where it's kind of like, I think it was the first time that all 3 of us had said out loud that all 3 of us wanted to keep going, or that there wasn't everything hadn't been said yet, or fill in the blank. I think up until that point, I'm not sure we knew. There was kind of a period of time where we didn't play a lot of shows, but we weren't completely inactive for like 4 or 5 years. And we all had various relationships with that dynamic. Like sometimes that was cool because it gave you a lot of time at home. Sometimes it left you wanting more because you were only playing like 10 shows, and that's not very fun. But I think that, that was like, I want to say that was the spring before that show. Mm-hmm. It kind of solidified this idea that like, okay, we're going to try this again, because it doesn't seem like it's finished. And then, as chance would have it, we get the offer a couple months later, and it's kind of like, yeah, well, what if we try it now?
Mm-hmm. I think it was great though. Like Dave said, we weren't really sure. There wasn't a very clear, like, no matter what, we are going to continue. It's like, it was a really great opportunity to just pause and like reflect and be intentional, because we'd gotten to a point within the years with Isaac in the band where it felt like autopilot. Like things felt familiar, things felt pretty comfortable, and it was all positive, but we were kind of just like doing. We were just rolling and going through and going through. And so when there was a stick in the spokes and everything stopped, it was like a great opportunity to like step back, like evaluate, reapproach, like it's amazing to like be able to start the band again as adults, and like reevaluate how you want to do it. And so that it was important to like pause and to not know. And it felt like we all had space that we gave each other to kind of process through that, and many phone calls and coffees. Yeah.
Was Isaac's leaving a shock to you guys, or you kind of knew this was coming?
We knew it was coming.
Yeah, I think so. He made it kind of clear for a few years prior to that I think he was trying to figure out how to kind of slowly back out the door. I mean, that said, I still remember sitting on the couch in my place when I used to live in Nashville, getting the actual phone call, and it was shocking. I was like, I think maybe I thought it could happen, but I didn't want to believe that it could happen. Yeah. And I think we maybe had an inclination that was what was going to happen on the call. I remember like lighting a candle next to me and like getting tea. I was like preparing myself, like, what's going to happen? Did I ever tell you that?
No.
Yeah.
No,
What kind of candle?
I don't remember. Something nice or like some
like
sort of weird incense thing.
Candle?
Yeah. A whole bunch of prayer candles. Yeah.
It's crazy. Like those moments, those challenges, they're scary as shit, but often like forced you to really bring out the best in you.
Yeah, it becomes like a difficult gift.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You look back on it like, whoa, that was so hard to go through, but it led you to where you're at now, and you would have never gotten to, to realize life now as you know it and as we know it, had we not gone through that. And everybody, you process loss differently, and end. And closure never comes the way you think it's going to come, like when we were dreaming about in the beginnings of this band, we're dreaming about like someday we're going to be, our grandchildren are going to be running around and, we'll be playing shows and we'll be 75 and
we'll all live on the same property.
Closure doesn't come the way you think, and then we had to, like Dave was saying, like we had to process our own way, the end, because it really was the death of what was, and it takes time, and everybody goes through a different process there. And so in time we maneuvered and aligned and this kind of shared idea that, okay, there can be something, for us. There can be something new here. And it's nothing new under the sun. If you look at the history of bands, I kept reminding myself of that as we were having difficult talks, as we were facing an unknown, the fears, all of it, that, okay, they had to go through this, they had these same conversations, and it's been done, and somehow bands can evolve and change and have incredible careers, after that. So that was like a reoccurring reminder of, okay, others have done this, so we can figure out a way to do this.
Can you describe the void that was left? Because a lot of it does come down to this idea that like it's just that person is just not around, and it's a comfort thing. And from my understanding, you guys started the band, really, right?
Yeah.
It started with the two of you,
Mm-hmm.
but you've always taken lead as it relates to writing songs.
Yeah, I think we are the sum total of the music that we've listened to, the books that we've read, the friendships, the relationships that we've had. Bands are really just made up. It's the individual stories and people coming together and playing music, but a band is just kind of mythical. You can't touch
label,
it.
yeah.
It's not a thing. It's not a tree. It's just like, oh, there's a word or a couple words, and it's just kind of this made up thing, but it's part of your life and your story. And so we're the sum total of all those things, all of our history, all of the arguments, the fights, the ups and downs, and that's what makes the whole, But yeah, the void. I think I had to let that, I saw it, in our collaboration first, because I think it just started to become distant, and that's okay, because when someone, what's true within you, if you don't bring that out, can really destroy you. But if you bring it forth and you express it, that is what saves you. And I think for Issac, it took him time, but he needed to bring that forth, and it's what's saved him as an individual, and it's what saved us as a band. So I'm forever grateful for the time, the story that we've written, and now it's about the new and about what's ahead.
It's funny. I don't. We haven't really talked about this much, but you saying void and like asking about that, it doesn't really. To me, it hasn't really felt like a void, and I'll echo what Joe just said. Like, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him, for Issac and his involvement, like pivotal. And we all miss him on certain levels, like as a friend, but relationally and just like the dynamic, to me, instead of it feeling like a void, it's kind of felt like this mythical thing was supported by 4 legs, like if you picture like a chair or a stool that had 4 legs, and we got used to that and being supported that way. And then one of those got taken away.
And you're all getting stronger.
And when one leg got taken away, we got wobbly at first, for sure. We were like, oh shit, we're falling over. But then it just required us to like reformat. And now it's a 3-legged stool. And it's just like, that's the new, like Joe's saying. It's like, it doesn't necessarily feel like a void as much as like a new shape. A new shape.
Yeah.
It very much is giving like a rebirth of the Fray.
Well, and speaking of birth, the perspective of the baby, that's a traumatic experience.
It's true. No, you're right.
I mean, think about it, all of us, right? We all fucking need trauma. You're comfortable, in this beautiful, perfect setting.
Warm womb.
Oh my God.
All the nutrients
the best place
you need.
in the world.
So true.
And then you're thrust into lights, and everything's overwhelming.
It's been shit since, yeah.
Exactly. So that's that is the same in similar experience. Like it's been like there's been trauma. It's been eye opening and scary and all the things, and then
there's so much beauty in it though.
Yeah.
Because like I'm telling you, the art's so good, the album's so good. Like it'd be a really different conversation if the music wasn't good. It'd be real uncomfortable. But like it's really good
for all of us.
Yeah, and it's the perfect elements of, again, like I said, like what I want from the Fray. It's just
that's cool.
And by the way, like the Reddit, like the subreddits on you guys, like people coming from the show and leaving their unfiltered, anonymous, honest feedback. Dude, everybody is echoing it.
I haven't read anything,
it,
but
it's positive.
Thank you for sharing that.
It's really good.
Yeah. I had to make a decision early. Like, okay, is this going to be good to read any comments?
Don't do it.
I can feel it at the shows, and that's all. That's all I need. And if that's alive, then I feel like we're doing something right.
How'd you cultivate the producers you worked with on this EP? Because they're great people.
Amazing. Yeah, that's what's fun about this. The music industry now is the way music is made is just so different. So we on our last record, our early records, you'd hole up in a studio for a month and a half, 2 months, with one guy, and you'd record 18 songs, and you can bring it down to 12 or whatever it is. And now you literally you can write anywhere, in any room, and we've just been appreciating collaboration, and exploring, songs with new friends and old friends, like just not holding it precious, just like allowing, again, being uncomfortable. It's kind of uncomfortable going into a new setting.
Totally.
Out of your like room, out of what what you can do. So yeah, just new collaborations is just life-giving for us. So we've just been enjoying writing and exploring all different things. So
we had the songs that we were working on that we kind of agreed, like, okay, let's kind of focus on these. They all involved co-writers that Joe had collaborated with in the writing process.
Mm-hmm.
And we made a decision that we wanted to self-produce the EP. So we were going down that road and in our own prospective studios, and we'd fly to meet up with each other. And it was a process that, for the majority of it was just the three of us, even to the point where it's like there'd be some days in the studio where it's like there was no one else there, which I don't know if that's ever happened before in Fray history. We're kind of like, where are the adults? Like, shouldn't somebody be? But it was just the three of us for a while. And then it got to a point where we felt like we needed some outside perspective at the end, like help just finishing, because, you get lost in your own head. And so the idea was floated around. It's like, hey, these individuals that were involved at the beginning of these songs, what if we looped them back in now at the end, now that we've kind of put our stamp on them, and they can help us get them across the finish line, which is what we did, and it was awesome. So we came out here to LA to work with Ryan Linville on finishing up one tune, and then went to Nashville to work with Andrew DeRoberts on like finishing, and Joe London here in LA as well. But it was cool to have those guys that like already knew the songs and were involved in the writing
Mm-hmm.
process in early stages, and even like some tracks from the demos that we'd preserved and used, and then like they come back in at the end and helped us kind of finish. It was cool.
Interesting balance, right, between you guys and a collaborator, right? And you're just writing with these people originally, or do you go in with some sort of lyrics?
It's different, every time. I mean, writing is a constant, right? Like if writers write, so, and that's an everyday, just paying attention. There's like every day there's something, for you if you want it, if you're aware and you want to open up to it. So, some days, I don't know necessarily what's happening. And you just start exploring, something. I write melodic, I'm a melodic writer, so I will sing gibberish. Sometimes I'm feeling something specific, and then it sinks in and a lyric drops. Other times it's just I have no idea what the song's about right away, and we're there to discover it. I think going in sometimes with a I'm gonna write this type of song is a dangerous kind of can be limiting, because then you're boxed into
You're in a box before you even start.
Exactly. So I think just like being open to what is this song, what does this song want to be, and how let it come through you.
Are you listening to like instruments or production, or are you just literally lyric based?
Different, sometimes piano, sometimes guitar, sometimes it'll, be a melody that just drops right away. So it varies. It varies.
By the way, you can listen to The Fray Is Back. It's waiting for you on Amazon Music. Not now. Is this a song written from imagination or reality?
That's a good question. Well, I think it's important to capture what's if you can capture what's alive, what's real, what's truth, and I don't know, some songs I can't tell. Maybe I'm even in like early songs, I thought maybe I was writing about somebody else, but I was actually just writing to myself. And I think Not Now is a blend of that. Is a conversation, more so with myself.
Is there a common thread or like something that each one of your early big records have in common?
I'd say questions.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, way more questions than statements, like, whether it's a literal one, or I think there's like so much from the perspective of somebody who's not a principal lyricist in this band, but for more than 20 years has shown up to the studio or rehearsal or
Totally.
whatever and heard these either gibberish or concepts or whatever. It's like there's so much questioning and wondering and that ends up being way more interesting than like a statement with punctuation at the end, you know.
I think the narrative is a common thread. You know, I tend to write more narrative songs, and you know, I think Ben said, you know, questions. I think 90% of the time I have no idea what it is. 5% of the time I do have an idea, and 90% of the time I'm just wrong and I have no idea. So it's just, you know, it's a discovery. But I think the thread is there's a narrative there. And I remember reading, you know, when I started the band, there's a book called On Writing by Stephen King. And, you know, there were bits in that book that really, you know, were profound for me at the point of the beginning of the Fray. And he said that, you know, a writer has to tell the truth. He said most bad writing is from dishonesty. And I resonate with that. I think, you know, if there's a lyric, whatever the lyric is, if it's not in the core, if you don't feel it in your blood, in your bones, people are going to feel that. You know, they're going to feel a disconnect. So the thread, I think, for the Fray from the get-go is it has to be from this core. We have to feel everything in that lyric, and it has to be true. So, you know, that's I think a bit of the thread through the years.
Can we talk about Over My Head?
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you even remember the story where you're at when you write that record, or you're hit with them? What lyric comes first?
Yeah, you know, when we started the band, as bands do, you go through. You know, we had a different drummer, we had a bass player, different bass player. So trying to figure out what the band was at that point, and you know, there was a bass player that we had, Isaac's brother, and you know, wonderful human being, and it wasn't the right fit, and it was a very difficult split. You know, not only because of sibling, but just band dynamic. It's such a marriage. You know, if you part ways, it is just heartbreaking, and it's really difficult. So it stemmed from that experience, and you know, I don't remember what lyric came first. What I do know now is Over My Head. Everyone knows I'm in Over My Head means something completely new to me. When we sing that song, I feel that right now in my life, you know, and it's something I can relate to, because this feels completely overwhelming and feels like we shouldn't be doing this, or I shouldn't, like, so it just takes on a new meaning.
But what a beautiful piece of art that can meet you where you're at, no matter where you're at.
Cool.
Yeah, man, and you know, and just feeling, you know, hearing everyone singing it is such an experience for us.
I was there last night. It was so cool. Yeah, it was like half the song that I think the audience just sang by themselves.
Yeah,
and you guys just kind of played the music and let them sing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Why the two names? Why was Cable Car vital to stay in there?
That's what I'm curious about.
That's a great question
for all the listeners. Do you know it as Over My Head or Cable Car?
You know what? I feel like sometimes on the radio they'd say both, which is even more confusing and long-winded.
Well, it's just that time in the industry too, where like it was Cable Car. That was the title.
The label was like, "That's not cool enough."
Yeah, well, they were just like, "Well, you know,
you don't say that in the chorus.
People need to know the lyric, and the lyric in the chorus that's how you typically title." So it was like, okay. Well, what do we do here, guys? You know,
the compromise is both.
With parentheses.
Yeah, it's kind of an
why
eye
do we
roll.
do that? I have no idea.
By the way, like nobody's just reading it. Like you're saying it most of the time. So this idea that like like the parentheses even apply to this situation?
No.
Yeah.
Like, how do you introduce it? You don't need to.
Yeah,
You don't need to.
Actually, yeah, we have. I haven't. I don't think I've ever introduced the song.
Yeah, this next tune. Yeah.
You may have heard it. I don't know.
Right.
It's crazy. Can we talk about You Found Me? Is there any, like, people have come on our show many times, varying degrees of artists, and they go some of their biggest records, like Chris Martin and Viva La Vida. He claims that the universe beamed something down to him, shot it into his brain, didn't really, and he just came through him. He was just a mere vessel. Does any of that make any sense
I like that answer a lot.
if applied to You Found Me?
Nice, Chris.
How to save a
Well,
life?
I was going to give you.
Look
That's the
after
same
you?
thing I feel.
Really?
Yeah, that same beam of light
Beam of
split
light.
in
It
two.
hit everybody at the same
Yeah.
time.
No, but it's weird though. People do like describe sort of
Yeah.
like a flow state that takes over
Yeah.
them, right? So it's like a subconscious competence that
Yeah.
they really can't attest to it, and they don't even know what they're making at the time. But it's only when they reference it later that they can figure out what the song's about.
There's something in that, you know. I mean, it's they come through you. They're not from you.
That
You know, and because they are their own lives, and it's also interesting if you wait on an idea, and you have an idea and you have a song that you're wanting to write, but you hold it. That idea, universe is going to put that idea out there, and it'll come out. Somebody else will do it.
yeah.
And I've heard that happen so many times where like somebody has an idea and they were like they just haven't captured it yet, or they haven't written it, and then 6 months later it's the same thing, or another artist
It has
puts
to
it.
find its way out.
The song is going to happen. The idea, I believe, is going to happen if you don't bring it forth. You know, so yeah, there's something way beyond, right? There's something beyond the individual. It's this seed thing, this whatever that beam that Chris was talking about is gonna come. It's gonna go through. It's gonna find its way into the world.
Why do you think How to Save a Life found you guys?
We have.
That's a
We're
good question.
not at authority to say. Honestly, it's not. It's like it came from somewhere else, and it's like if we were to answer that question, we'd be inserting ourselves back into the process. That's not. That's like it wasn't up to us. You know.
I mean, it was interesting that you said your biggest songs were asking a question, and that song is asking, like, where did I go wrong? It's asking a question.
Well, where are you asking that question from? A place of?
I was raised in the church. My dad was a pastor. You get to a certain point in life, we all do, where you start to think for yourself, and you start to wonder, and you start to question whether the given knowledge is something you want to continue or carry or continue, you know, to build on or believe. And that song came from those questions of, well, maybe I don't see it that way. You know, maybe the world isn't black and white. Maybe there are many colors that, you know, are indescribable. So, you know, I think the questions, you know, are also what lead you to I think, you know, like humankind, right? Like questions that we've had in the human race, and that lead you to new breakthroughs, right? Like, or that can lead us to new breakthroughs, to saving millions of people's lives, because somebody's questioning, okay, how does this work? What's happening? You know, what can we do here? You know, so questions really are what can lead to, I think, you know, save. So, you know, even for this band, like when we started this, it was questions. It was like, do we want this? Can we move forward? Is there anything, you know, for this band? Do we love this? So, and it took those questions, you know, for us to like really wrestle with, you know. But yeah, I don't know if I answered the question, but
It is interesting.
with the question,
Well, do you get answers from the question from the song?
what's that?
Do you get the answers you're looking for from creating the record?
I think we ask the same questions over and over again. You know, I think many questions that we have will be asked 100 years from now. You know, we're all wondering what the fuck's going on here, right? Like, why are we here? What's our purpose? You know, why do we do what we do? we're like the same questions. I don't know if we'll ever, there'll be no answers, right? Like we have no idea. So I think those will just, maybe we asked those, those same questions were probably asked 200 years ago. Like,
Sure.
how do you help someone? There isn't an easy fix for it. We want it to be easy, right? Like we want to just, have a thing that like, okay, that you do this and you're good, but we're complicated. We're complex human beings that we carry DNA from generations in the past that we don't understand about ourselves. And there is no easy way to say, this is how you get help. This is how you can live a better life, And so, we're just, I guess, continuing the same question that, I think humanity's probably had for, centuries.
Well, thanks for being one of the voices to ask it. Your music's amazing. The album's great. Well, it's an EP, but it will turn into more songs coming out in the spring, right?
Yeah. So the EP we just put out at the beginning of this tour, and then we're going in. Like I said, in a couple weeks, record again, and we're just having fun. We're just feeling good doing this band. Yeah, it's amazing.
Listen to the music. It's all waiting for you on Amazon Music. I could talk to you for hours, but I'm being wrapped. You Found Me is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Awesome.
So good.
Thanks, man.
Wow.
So fucking great. So great. So vivid. God, your music is very vivid. You can see it. You can feel it. Because everyone's been there. And it is a combination. Like, things start with your own experience, then the universe takes over.
For sure.
It's a combination.
Thank God.
Yeah. You can't have one without the other. Thanks for your time today, guys.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
having us,
guys.
The
man.
show last night was great.
Awesome.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming,
Thank you.
man.
So
Thanks for
good.
coming.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, you're a very rare band. And thanks for continuing to make music. It's great.
Man, thank you
for having
for
us on.
having us. Thanks for allowing us to share our story as much as we can make sense of it right now.
Oh, dude, my studio's always here and waiting for you. I thank you for choosing to make music and navigate the music industry in the year 2024 because it's, dude, there's no gatekeepers anymore. It's a totally different system, right?
Completely.
Like, where's the program director to go and like hang out at his kid's birthday party?
Exactly.
Or, bring them pizza or some shit. Everything's different. So thank you for even doing it.
For sure.
And it sounds amazing. So
Thanks,
Thanks,
man.
bro.
the Fray, everybody.